Hello Knockouts, Tonya TKO here, and today we're going to be talking about Ready to Love Season 1, Episode 3. And so now the show is really starting to warm up and get really interesting. I'm starting to learn some of the characters' personalities, starting to see people's patterns, habits, and also some of the reasons why they're still single. We're going to be doing a breakdown of the show. We're going to give ourselves 9 minutes for that, and let me do my intros. I'm Tonya TKO. I'm a self-love specialist and relationship expert from TonyaTKO.com. And you guys asked me to review this show, so I'm sticking with it. I didn't like the show at first, but I'm starting to see some appeal in the show because in this show, Uncle Tommy, or whatever his name is, Cousin Tommy, nephew Tommy gathered the men up in this episode, and he actually did some coaching with them and actually made them be held accountable for their actions and their decisions, as well as leading certain women on, not being forthright, as well as being truthful and letting someone know when you're not feeling them. So in this episode, they actually had the men cut out 2 women. And I found the dynamic of this show particularly interesting because there's just so much going on. You start to learn about the different characters. And now that the men are doing the choosing, you see how when men choose, you see how God, I'm at a loss for words, because what's really on my mind is Melinda. She's a 40-something-year-old woman who has taken up this fixation with a character by the name of Aaron. And now Aaron is this suave little dude with a little wry smile and a mush mouth. And he has this charm about him because I can imagine that he grew up in an environment in which if I were to imagine who this young man was in birth order, I would imagine that he were, let's say, maybe the youngest child in a dysfunctional environment where he had to please, placate, and pacify other people. So he's really good at building fake instant rapport and capitalizing on people's egos as well as people's desire to be liked. So he himself, a person like him would really have to take a tremendous amount of time really getting to know himself in order to figure out what type of woman he would want. Because I think he may have an idea, but he's so busy pretending to be what everybody wants. And also with this desperate need for attention that he has, constantly lifting up his shirt, showing off his skinny little abs. And I'm like, okay, son, all right. Anyway, we're losing the light, so I'm going to try to make this quick. So we have Aaron, who's like this suave ladies man. And just so I can help you all peep game, it's very easy to build instant rapport. One of the things that he does is he touches. Touching people gives the feeling of familiarity. He compliments. He also agrees with people. Agreeing with people and pretending as if you're on the same page builds a sort of kindred spirit, because you're like, oh, this person feels me. I feel what this person is saying. We feel one another. And it instantly gives you this feeling of bonding. So he knows how to create this false sense of bonding that all of the ladies seem to be falling for. And women, this is one thing that we're going to have to be really mindful of, especially when it comes to dating, is we're going to have to just really sit back and allow a situation to unfold, allow ourselves to see people, listen to people, ask questions without forming our opinion about them. It's like I hear the women making sweeping statements about the men. They even started off the episode talking about, oh, we got 3 solid candidates, 3 really good guys. It's like, you don't really know who a person is until you start asking them questions and being neutral about it, because we always have to remember a person is going to send their representative out there. So nonetheless, so there's this young lady. I want to talk about some ladies in particular. Melinda is at the top of the list because she's in her 40s and she's acting like she doesn't understand the dating game by now. She's like, oh, you got me blushing like a schoolgirl. So it's like when she was talking to Pastor Troy, or whatever his name was. Pastor Chris, sorry. Pastor Troy is a rapper. When she was talking to Pastor Troy and she wasn't feeling him, she was like, I'm like a lotion bottle. You got to pump me in order to get me, and all of that. But when she is attracted to a person, she's giving out so much. So there's no balance. She didn't know anything about Pastor Chris and who he was. She didn't even give him a chance based on just aesthetic or whatever it was that she's basing her thing on. But she was doing the most. She went and she cooked a Thanksgiving dinner with homemade stuffing and cranberry sauce and going through all of this and talking about it was made with love. And then the part that was so sad is that she started bargaining. She started like, is bargaining the right word? You tell me what the word is. She started like bargaining with the boy, the mush-mouth boy, in exchange for kisses. She was like, for every bite you like, that's a kiss. I'm sorry, but if you have to bribe a person with bites of food to kiss you as a woman, it's highly problematic. So it's like, why not just be a woman, rest in your femininity, let that man rise. Let him rise. Even Aaron said that with her taking away the him rising, it killed his attraction, which he could have had for her, even though they're 10 years apart in age. I'm just like, this is, the whole thing is just, then we got another woman who came out on a date, I believe her name was Shanta. She's like, what do you think of me? I'm going to be able to see through bullshit. And I'm like, what do you mean? How does just, you don't even know anybody. Everybody's talking about who they like and attaching themselves to people, and instead of really just being like, you know what, let me just get to know people. Let's go through the process. Everybody just seems like they're in such a rush, and it's like the same mistakes that they've been making. So basically this show is like the same mistakes people have been making for 30 years. They just toss them into a situation for them to keep making the same mistakes. We had another girl on the show crying today. Actually, we had two young ladies crying. Rita was crying about how she let her man have a side piece because in Atlanta there's just not enough men to go around, and her man was a famous basketball player or pro athlete or whatever. Then we had the other lady on the show, Dr. whatever her name is, Dr. Lexy, who's going on about how she's a doctor. No, you're not a doctor. You have a doctorate. She has a doctorate. She has a PhD in some sort of business degree. And it's too much. Then she started crying because she was like, oh, because because she's like, people don't really give her a chance because she has like this air about her where she's always wearing these masks, going out on these dates with these costumes on, walking around in life with makeup plastered on her face, wearing samurai looking wigs, Mr. It wigs. And then she decided to get more natural, and she put on an afro wig. So that's her idea of natural, putting on fake hair. And I'm just like, where is the coach for the women to really sit down with the ladies and talk about what are some of the things that some of the patterns that they're exhibiting that they can do just a little bit differently to help them, not only in this show, but beyond the show. Okay, so we're running out of time. Then we had Christine, who's like clowning on a date, just, I'm not even going to go there. She just exuding a lot of just really friend energy. And yeah, there's going to be somebody there for her. Speaking of energy, right? Speaking of energy, I find that there's a lot of masculine energy in the Black community from the women and the men. And with the ways that we're raised and socialized, I see why we have issues in our dating lives, because the women are exuding so much masculine. It's almost like they're trumping the men in masculinity, so the men fall back into these beta personas or just start clashing with them. I want your thoughts below. I'm going to be watching the next episode, but I'm going to be doing Chad Loves Michelle in between that. So give me your thoughts below. Are you keeping up with the show? I'm starting to like it. Remember, subscribe, hit the notifications, and I will see you all in the next video. Tonya TKO, and I'm out. Peace.